Mic check. It's on. Hello, could you please take our seats? And I will kindly request everyone at the back, if you could please move a little bit to the stage. A lot of wonderful things will be happening on this stage, so you hate to miss out. Please, the last tables, if you could occupy the tables here so that we have minimal movement throughout. Kindly. So please, if we could take our seats and be ready for the start of the program. Amazing. All protocols observed. Our clients, our partners, the ZEP-RE team. Good morning, everyone. Good morning once more. I don't think that response sounds very much like a resilient, like people who've had breakfast and are feeling very resilient this morning. So good morning once more. My name is Miriam Mweni. I don't think it's coming up on the screen, just an image of me. My name is Miriam Mweni. I am the ESG manager at ZEP-RE. And today, I think the name that I've been given is Resilience Host. Initially, I'd come up with MCE, because as you know, as the Kenyan that I am, Kenyans, we like to say, I'm a hustler. In English, loosely translated as I'm a hustler. So my job, full-time, is ESG manager, but for today, I'm making my debut into a corporate MCE. Hopefully, I'll make a good one. I would hate to steal the thunder from our MD, who will be making opening remarks and welcoming all of us formally. So I'll just allude to the reason why we are here today, the Resilience Breakfast, the launch of the ZEP-RE 2024 Sustainability Report. It's very important that we have all of you here today, because the story of impact that we're going to be sharing is not by ZEP-RE alone. It's in partnership with all of you seated today in this room. And we couldn't be more proud to tell that story and publish our report in the presence of all of you. As the scholar that I am, as I was looking through and going through my emceeing notes, my resilience host notes this morning, I came across a quote that I think is very relevant this morning by Chinua Achebe in his famous novel, Things Fall Apart, which says, "A man who calls his kinsmen to a feast does not do so to save them from starving. They surely have food in their own homes. And when we gather in the moonlight ground in the village," those of you who grew up in the village, "it is not because of the moon. Every man can see the moon in their own compound. We come together because it is good for kinsmen to do so." And I believe that is a tradition and heritage that we have as Africans, to gather together and have very powerful conversations, like the resilience conversation that we're going to have this morning with our dear clients, partners, friends in the room, and everyone present here this morning. And without much further ado, I would like to welcome our MD and CEO, Ms. Hope Murera, for our opening remarks, so that once she welcomes us, if you still need some more breakfast, you can pick some more. You can make yourselves at home. So welcome, Hope.
I think she's doing a great job. Don't you believe that? A big clap. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Very happy to have all of you here. This has been a journey with you. Very grateful to our partners, DEG, who are here in the room, for the support they've given us in this sustainability journey as well. And yeah, I hope you all had breakfast so that we are resilient. Is that correct? You've all had breakfast? So good morning, colleagues, partners, and friends. It is an honor to welcome you all to this special occasion, the launch of our 2024 Sustainability Report under the theme, A Leading Partner in Growing Africa's Resilience. Just last week, I know Joshua missed, we came together and swung for resilience at Sigona Golf Club. A few of you were there. And despite the rain, we were able to enjoy ourselves. We carry forward the same spirit of partnership and purpose here at this breakfast. At ZEP-RE, we have always believed that resilience is more than the ability to withstand shocks. It is the capacity to adapt, to innovate, and to grow stronger in the face of adversity. Today, this mission is more urgent than ever. Africa loses an estimated 10 to 15 billion every year to climate-related shocks, and insurance penetration across sub-Saharan Africa remains between 2 and 3%. This means millions of households, MSMEs, public institutions all remain highly vulnerable to risks that can wipe out decades of progress in a single season. Many of you in this room have walked the journey with us and have always known us first and foremost as the leading reinsurer in Africa, with our foundation built on reinsurance. At the core of this is our dual mandate, profit, and purpose. Reinsurance, by its very nature, is resilience in action. It spreads risks, protects balance sheets, and ensures that shocks do not become systematic crises. It cushions economies from disasters, stabilizes financial systems, and enables us as insurers to extend protection to households, farmers, businesses that would remain unserved and unprotected. Over the years, we have built on this foundation, evolving into a solutions partner that meets today's customer and industry needs. That is why our work, together with our clients and partners, matters. Whether it is an SME business or a large business, or protecting pastoralist households under the DRIVE program, supporting smallholder farmers through our subsidiary ECA Africa, supporting cross-border trade pools such as the COMESA Yellow Card and the RCTG, or building capacity through our academy, supporting our renewable energy transitions through our insurance. Our story is one of solutions, partnerships, and purpose. But resilience also has a forward-looking dimension. The challenges before us, such as climate change, microeconomic volatilities, evolving regulatory landscapes, and social risks, demand that we not only respond, but we lead. They demand that we innovate new models, embrace sustainability standards, deepen trust within our clients, and collaborate across industry and development to unlock scale. This is why today is important, our second edition of the Sustainability Report, which is a testament to our commitment to report useful information to stakeholders and showcase why we exist. It shows how far we've come as an organization, but more importantly, where we are headed to be a catalyst, a trusted partner, and a leader in shaping Africa's resilience. I want to extend my gratitude to our clients here in the room, our partners, the ZEP-RE team for your dedication and passion, and all the partners, development, business, and regulatory, and the communities we work in for walking this journey with us. As you go through the 2024 Sustainability Report and engage in the conversations that will follow, I invite you to keep seeing ZEP-RE as a strategic ally, a partner of choice in designing solutions and innovations that will shape Africa's resilient future. I welcome you to this Resilience Breakfast and thank you for being part of this journey.
Thank you, MD. Thank you, MD.
I have my... is that coming through?
Yes. Please bring up something that we'd like to show you that is very resilience related. Go for it.
So that's what I leave with you. I really like this, right? At the end of the day, what is sustainability for all of us and what's our role? A society grows great when old men, such as us, plant trees whose shade they know they shall never sit in. I thank you.
I think because I want to be very mobile, I'll use the microphone that allows me to move around. Thank you so much, Hope, the MD and CEO, ZEP-RE PTR Insurance, who a lot of you already know, for those remarks. And I believe because you've already been welcomed, you can make yourself very much at home, go for additional serving, remove your shoes, walk around. Not now though, afterwards. Because we would like to just show you a bit of what you expect in our 2024 Sustainability Report, we'll be bringing up something on the screen to just tease you. Please read the report once we publish it. Whatever you see on the screen is just a tip of the iceberg of the amazing stories that have taken us months to put together and to weave them together to tell the story that a lot of you maybe who might not know that insurance is impactful will probably believe from this moment henceforth that insurance is the backbone of resilience in Africa. So please, our systems team, if you could put up the video on the screen. It's a 2-minute video. Please look up. Maybe there is a gift. I will ask a question from there, so stay alert. In our 2024 Sustainability Report. And I want to deeply appreciate at this point the Gen Zs in the Partnerships Department who over the weekend worked hard to script and put that video together so that our amazing guests can also see the video and storytelling in digital format. Maybe next year, who knows, we'll maybe have a digital version of the report where we do audio and you can listen to it while you're gymming, and spreading resilience across Africa, even on your flights. Thank you so much. And at this point, I would like to move to our panel for today. This opportunity we have today presents a perfect platform for us to also close the knowledge gap that there is on sustainability and ESG, not just in Africa, but also globally. We are seeing a lot of global shifts that I won't mention today that are very political. However, sustainability and ESG remains very vital for the resilience of businesses, not just in insurance, but across all the different sectors and industries. So today, we made, or rather put together a panel that is going to take us through the subject, Partnering to Grow Resilience and Sustainability in Africa, which will be moderated by our Director Partnerships at ZEP-RE, Ms. Albena Melin, who I'll kindly call on the stage. And then I'll call the panelists. And kindly, the systems team, please help me put up the wonderful photos of our panelists as I call them on board. The table here and the other two there.
Test, quick test.
Thank you. Albena, please take your seat as the first one. Okay, as that is being set up, I'll kindly introduce the panelists that we have today. I'll begin with the first one, Mr. Akinyemi Awodumila. He prefers to be called Yemi. Akinyemi Yemi is a partner at PwC Kenya and the Sustainability and Climate Practice Leader for East Africa. He's also the lead capital markets and accounting advisory services in the region. Welcome, Mr. Akinyemi. Thank you. Number two, not in any order of importance. All of them are very important and dear to our hearts. The second one, Stella Junge, the MD and CEO, NCBAIG, who is a seasoned finance and insurance executive with over 2 decades of experience in the Eastern African financial services industry, with fundamental knowledge of the regulatory and insurance reporting standards. Welcome, Stella. My third panelist, Mr. Jonathan Stichbury, is the CEO of Sanlam Allianz Investments, East Africa. During his tenure as the CEO of Sanlam Allianz Investments, he has grown to become one of East Africa's leading fund managers with operations in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, and clients' institutional and retail assets under management in excess of $5 billion US, not Uganda shillings, US dollars. No offense to Uganda shillings. We love the resilience of the currencies in Africa. And our fourth panelist, Ms. Hannah Dorenbush. Welcome, Hannah. Is an international development advisor with experience in managing multi-million-dollar projects, developing strategies for international organizations, and improving the financial readiness of SMEs, who form, as you've seen on the video, over 80% of the businesses in Africa. She currently co-leads the Partners in Transformation Desk for East Africa at DEG Impulse in collaboration with GIZ. Welcome, Anna. And last but not least, our CEO and MD, ZEP-RE, Ms. Hope Murera, whose bio and CV you all know. And I don't need to repeat it. So with that, welcome our panel, and Ms. Albena Melin, who is very kindly passing the microphones around, will be moderating this panel, and you have a chance to ask 2 to 3 questions, which I'll be very strict on time about. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. I have a mic. Can you all hear me? Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. My name is Albena Melin. I'm Director of Partnership at ZEP-RE, and the whole Gen Z team is my team. I love them. I am not a Gen Z, as you can see, for all my sins. I'm a Muzungu who has grown up in Africa and spent most of her life on this continent. Since 1 year, the wonderful Hope asked me to come and join ZEP-RE, and I did. And I don't regret a single second. Thank you very much, Hope. So welcome everybody here today, colleagues, guests, and everybody. I would like to start off the panel with one question that I will ask everybody to answer briefly. The theme of this year's sustainability report is a leading partner in growing Africa's resilience. From your point of view, where you sit, your organizations and what they do, how do you plan and what are you doing to grow Africa's resilience? Oh, sorry. Just to recognize, we have online our directors, Chikumbu, Simon Chikumbu, and Tari. Sorry, I didn't know that. And we have many other online guests. I should have welcomed you all. Apologies for that. So I'm going to start with that introductory question with Yemi. You have a microphone. Just very briefly, what are you doing to grow Africa's resilience?
Well, thank you very much, Albina, for that. And good morning, everyone. I think what I would speak about is contextualizing the conversation of sustainability and resilience for the continent. And when we think about it in the context of what and how we expect corporates to sort of situate themselves in that equation, you find it's a conversation around purpose, it's a conversation around understanding the business case, it's a conversation about understanding the role that organizations play, partnering with like-minded stakeholders towards solving a lot of the social goals that we set for ourselves on the continent. So if you recall the 2-minute clip we just watched, you saw in there housing, renewable energy, solving the energy gap crisis. You saw financial inclusion. Those are global goals. And then you have like-minded partners working together to solve those global goals. And in the context of corporates, actually making money while solving those global goals. So I think in the context of building resilience, an understanding of how we all come together to solve and build better for the continent is something PwC is deeply, deeply committed towards helping to drive and shape and ensure that leaders across society understand the trade-offs that we need to make, taking a balanced view, ensuring that development, prosperity, and the conversation around sustainability are not seen as mutually exclusive. And I think driving that thinking in terms of how we then execute on our purpose and deliver for the planet is what PwC actually helps to deliver across, not just for ourselves, but also across society in general.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yemi. Very good. It's as if he's talking from our book, Hope. It's profits and purpose, not mutually exclusive. We briefed him well. No, we didn't. He's just a good friend. Hannah, what about you from a development finance perspective?
Yeah, I think so. Resilience and sustainability is really our bread and butter, if you want. So this is what our mandate is as a DFI. So I'm part of DEG, which is one of the largest European DFIs actually, and Africa is one of our focus continents. So through investments in different sectors, a variety of sectors, we also really sit between commercial viability and impact, and I think that's really what we need for, in particular, the sustainable part.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan, may I come to you next from an investments point of view and the billions that Miriam said you're managing?
Thank you. As a fund manager, we're basically a trusted fiduciary and our role is to allocate capital. And it makes perfect sense for us to invest capital into businesses or investment opportunities which are going to stand the test of time and are resilient. So we champion ESG when we make investments. In fact, it's a key part of our investment process. And we make it very clear to the companies and to the issuers of securities that we want to invest in that they will not, it's not an area that we're willing to compromise on, and they will not receive money from us unless they are cognizant and actively pursue strategies which are aligned with ESG. So I think in this way over the years, we've actually seen a massive improvement, not just from us, but other global investors in the way that companies, issuers, and security providers conduct themselves, and also in the way that they think about ESG.
Thank you, Jonathan. Stella, I see you nodding to everything that Jonathan is saying. What about from your side?
I guess insurance is at the heart of it all, principally because it enables societies, individuals to be able to recover from the shocks, be they climatic, be they financial, and helps you bridge that uncertainty, and also helps you recover from the financial impact of the effect of climatic shock. So in my view, we need to think of it in terms of defining and coming up with products that not only address the shock themselves, but also provide a sort of bridge so that we're able to create a form of stability for individuals, for farmers, so that they're more prepared for the next series of shocks. No insurance is based on historical rates, claims, but when you find you're a first-time user of insurance, there's no history to build on. So we need to be a bit more forward-thinking and come up with a way to define how it is that we will be able to pay claims or rate insurance products in a way that is sustainable, at the same time impactful for our customers.
Thank you, Stella. Hope, I'm not going to ask you to answer that question. I'm going to deviate slightly from the script. We saw on the video that was shown here on the clip that ZEP-RE has positioned itself as an organization that builds products for resilience in all kinds of environments, protecting pastoralists, farmers, looking at cross-border trade within the whole of Africa to promote sustainable growth. How do you see, or what do you see are the lessons that we have learned from ZEP-RE in scaling those solutions across borders? Because we don't only work in Kenya or in East Africa, we work across borders.
Thanks, Ruben, and thanks to the other panelists. I think for us, our starting point was to say that the products that we have been, distributing and supporting across the markets were really not impacting the majority of our people. So the first lesson was, how do we get relevant? How do we get impactful? And that meant that we had to sit back and say, if Africa's population is, SME, smallholder, we need to address that. So I think in everything we do, wherever we are we addressing the need? So that was really, and that is something that has become core to what we do. We sit back and say, is it addressing the need? Is it the right thing to do? Just yesterday I was telling the team, don't worry about the commercial aspects, it will follow. Just do the right thing, right? So what is the right thing? What is the relevant thing to our society? 2, insurance penetration remains very low. So if we keep doing the things we've been doing, we'll get the same results, right? So what do we need to do differently? And that's where ZEP-RE comes in critically, because we are a regional pool, right? We pool risks. Projects like DRIVE, they're successful because we are pooling it at a regional level. These are risks that you can't do at a national level or a small scale, smallholder farmers. So we need to think scale, we need to think regional pools. We've done this quite for a long time under the COMESA Yellow Card, under the Regional Transit Bond, but we are now saying it will only make sense if we can do it at the African level. So we are now working on the FCFTA bonds. So pooling, regional, very, very critical. Bundling, of course, right? We've been talking about that. But Ewan says, our CEO for ECA, farmers want credit, but they need insurance. Is that correct, Ewan? Yeah. So how do we make sure that we serve them at their point of interaction, at where they think they want, what the things that think they want, and where they've built relationships? And that has been successful. So bundling, whether it is in Drive, whether it is in the other micro products that we do, whether it is in ECA, how do we make sure that we expand the offering to these farmers? The third one or fourth one, I've lost count, is digital. You have to be technologically enabled. I mean, we cannot say that enough. And therefore, we have invested quite a lot in digital, in technology. We created a few years ago what we call our Innovation Hub. We actually went out and we are funding innovators. We get the markets to meet innovators and say, what are the solutions that you can bring to the table? So digital has to be critically important. But I think also thinking differently. How do we innovate all the time for these smallholder farmers? For this, it's not going to be one product that we've sold for 20 years. It has to keep changing. So a few things that we've learned, and there is more. Big is partnerships, right? Partnerships with the markets, partnership with regulators. You might be aware also that this year was our 7th session of Regulator Forum. So we bring regulators from the region, because unless you have the right environment, then we'll not innovate, isn't it? And one of the, sorry, I'm maybe talking too long, but one of the things that was really interesting was when we started Drive, it was very important to find the right intermediaries. Drive pastorists, products to pastorists cannot be sold through the normal channels of brokers that we know. No, so today it's sold through community mobilizers, through NGOs, and that was because the regulator, was able to understand the need for that. So carrying along the regulators is very important. Bringing in partners, like I say, DEG has been a big partner, FD has been a very big partner, and global reinsurers, local reinsurers, and insurance industry as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope. Thank you for those words. Stella, may I come back to you, leading on from what Hope said, that the clients are changing, we're growing different groups of clients, the protection gap is big, we want to create sustainable growth in Africa. So looking at the fast-changing demographics in Africa, it's the youngest continent in the world. How can underwriters like you anticipate and meet the evolving needs of informal, of digital, of older Gen Zs who have different demands from old people like myself? So,
like yourself, Alben, and also myself, the reality is that the face of insurance is changing. In our organizations, when you sit in your meeting rooms and you take the median age of management, hardly does it represent what our customers' median age is. And the big question here is, how do we remain relevant for Gen Zs who are coming into the world of work? Another 10 years or so will be the managers of those business. Our products cannot continue to remain traditional. As I said earlier, the traditional way in which we have been able to develop our products was to use history to come up with prices, and that big weakness that we have as insurers is drive the product from a management perspective instead of looking at what the customer actually needs. So in terms of product development, definitely look towards parametric and index insurance with known outcomes as the first way to address the needs of this new generation that require a lot of transparency and they don't have a lot of time for detail, and they want a lot of efficiency. And that brings me to my second point, that we have to run our businesses differently to be able to offer digital, always-on service. That one I got from a new IT manager. I hadn't realized there's something called always-on. Thirdly, is the aspect of how do we break the trust gap that we have. I think that's the biggest one, so that they can come to appreciate that insurance is not a cost, but actually addresses a need. And the fact that preservation of capital is important, so that people do not have to keep on going back to their pockets to raise that amount. Be you a business, be you an individual or an SME, which is another segment that has been, in my view, largely unserved or underserved. For the Gen Zs, appreciating that they do not want a bundled product, they want a single device or a single item insurance. So device protection, and I'm happy to see that finally those products are available in this market. And the aspect of quick service, digital service, one, because the mobile penetration rate is very, very high. We need to build on those already established relationships on telcos and also with providers of credit and banking services to be able to address this new market and continue to make ourselves relevant.
Thank you, Stella. Thank you very much. Jonathan. Oh, you don't hear me? Sorry. Jonathan, may I come over to you? So listening to the increasing demands on efficiency, transparency from customers, we know that investors also have increasingly different demands in articulating, aligning investments to ESG. And how does that influence capital flows into Africa in your experience? This alignment with ESG, the demands of international investors. Do you see that as a hurdle? Do you see that as a benefit? How do you see that?
There's empirical evidence that companies, institutions which takes ESG seriously and implement it into the way they do business outperform those which don't. So as a hard-nosed investor, whether you're here or anywhere else in the world, that is a free lunch. If a company, let's just say it's a company, takes ESG seriously, you're likely to have a more sustainable return, a more sustainable business to invest in. And as an investor, most investors don't really want to be buying and selling constantly. You want to do your hard work, your due diligence, and you want to buy something and hold on to it and benefit from those returns over not just weeks or months, but hopefully years. So I think that, this is, the wind is blowing in only one direction here. I think, yes, it has been led by international investors, but I think if you want to attract capital anywhere in the world now, you have to take ESG seriously. And so for ourselves as fund managers, we're very pleased to see that Kenya will be introducing IFRS S1 and S2 in 2027. So we're really institutionalizing ESG in Kenya. But I think it goes further than that. Africa is, whether we like it or not, is deemed to be much riskier than other parts of the world by international investors. So one of the ways of de-risking and attracting capital is to demonstrate that we have businesses which are take governance seriously, take environmental factors seriously, and are taking their responsibilities as members of the community seriously. When I look back to when I started, you can probably all see I've been doing this for a little while. When I started, it was hard to get meetings with companies. And when you did meet with them, if you were so lucky to do so, the CEO was like an emperor on the throne. And you weren't allowed to question. You weren't allowed to say, well, why do you only have 2 board meetings a year? Why don't you have risk or audit committees? Why don't you have other committees on your board? Why is there no transparency in what you do? And that was just the way things were done. And I'm pleased to say things have changed, and we certainly wouldn't invest in a business like that these days, no matter how good it looked, because you know what they say, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. So I think it's changed, and I don't think we're going back. And I think investors around the world only want to invest in opportunities where they are comfortable about the longevity of that investment.
Thank you, Jonathan. Akinyemi, may I come to you? Jonathan mentioned it with IFRS S1 and S2 coming into force. Firstly, a few words when you answer, please, on what these are, because I'm not sure everybody in the room is aware. But with those coming into force, in different countries, they have different legal requirements when they come into force, but 2027, definitely. How do you think insurers need to get prepared to this sustainability disclosure and reporting in order not to become irrelevant and in order to stay competitive? So not from an investment point of view where we know they are already maybe a step further, but from an insurance point of view. And because you are an S1 and S2 expert, I'm asking you this question. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. So I think I will pick off from the last conversation. I think what the data also shows is the ability of organizations to manage very well non-financial risks has a huge impact on your ability to thrive financially in the long term. So I think that connection between non-financial and your future financial viability, I think, is well established. And I know often the climate debate seems to drown out every other non-financial matter that actually affects long-term value creation. So all the sustainability standards are trying to achieve is to provide a framework for entities to be able to speak about how these non-financial issues affect future financial value creation. Very clearly, future what? Financial value creation. In other words, you need to be able to drive the linkages, and I think all the speakers have addressed this, whether it's how well you manage climate risk to generate opportunities or to better manage risk across your business, whether it's how well you think about leveraging digital to actually grow your business, particularly looking at the cohorts of what the huge spending base of the younger population or citizens look like, and their preferences and how to stay relevant going forward. So when you think about all of that and try and translate it to an insurance industry, you're beginning to ask yourself around what? Product innovation, pricing innovation, reserving in terms of risk. You're looking at capital. You're also looking at aspects around claims processing. You're looking at how well to better manage risk across your various portfolios. The question is not to do business. The question is how do you do the right business? And I think all of that is what sustainability helps you think about in terms of transforming your business and preparing you for long-term success. Now, what the standards and the various jurisdictions now recognize is feedback from investor demands. Investors are asking, we need more than just your financial report. Investors are saying, your financial report is backward-looking. Your financial report does not tell me how well you intend to leverage capital, how well you intend to leverage digital. Your financial report doesn't tell me your talent strategy. That's a key component of your ability to thrive going into the future. And that information is what the standards are aiming to capture. So IFRS S1 is a sustainability standard that requires you to discuss your sustainability material topics. In other words, what are the non-financial issues that drive value creation for financial? So whether it's talent, whether it's climate risk, whether it's dealing with digital, whether it's customer experience, all of those are sustainability issues for every insurer to decide what are their material topics. And then all IFRS S1 is asking is, discuss them across 4 areas. Tell us how you manage them from a governance perspective. Tell us how you manage them from a what? Strategy perspective, from a risk management standpoint, and what are your metrics and targets to monitor and track performance, against your targets. Your ability to do that is what the standards are actually helping us to achieve. So think about when we begin to report that. We will drive what? Transparency. We will drive accountability. And ultimately, I think, build trust, which I think one of the panelists already addressed. And that's the whole goal of setting a baseline of how we also discuss non-financial issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Yemi. This is music to my ears. I hope to yours as well. And to everybody sitting here and in the room, guys. You heard it. Hannah, I left you last for a purpose. DEG has one of the best ESG and sustainability measuring mechanisms and impact measurement mechanisms in place. One of the best, if not the best of all the DFIs. So from your point of view, how do you think blended finance models, so blending public and private finance, what DFIs do, how do you think blended finance can help create more risk-sharing models in order to achieve what we're talking about here? How do we partner more in this blended finance risk mitigating structures to work with insurance, which can mitigate the risk of investments? How do we bring insurance in as a development finance tool? So I'd love to hear your views. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I think first, just important to say that yes, blended finance is a very important tool, but I think it's also important to use it in the right way. So really in markets where, like troublesome markets. So if markets are working well, it's obviously important not to use it, to make sure that there's no competition with commercial capital. So just wanted to mention that ahead. But yes, totally agree. Blended finance is a very important tool, and there are different ways to think about it. At DEG, guarantees, first loss capital, very important tools that we're looking at. And here the beauty is obviously really pairing public funds and private funds to use them to increase the impact and reduce the risk. So meaning that as the DFI or as a donor, taking up these early losses really allows commercial investors to be more risk-taking. And I think sectors where we're seeing it being hugely important are agricultural sectors, kind of innovative financing, and I think these are sectors that need capital the most, but where people see most risk in them. Other ones that are important are technical assistance, and I think we've engaged a lot with ZEP-RE on diverse technical assistance models. One important thing here is I think that it's really private sector led. So that, and this is kind of the philosophy that we take at DEG as well, is that the private sector or the company needs to come up with a project that makes sense for them from an impact perspective, but also from a commercial viability aspect, right? Because that really drives the sustainability bit. One of the programs that we are currently engaging in is in Zambia, the Farmer Input Support Program, where ZEP-RE is essentially developing climate resilience insurance products, efficient ways of delivering those, kind of sensitizing communities as well as training insurers. And I think that's hugely important, and so TA is a very important piece of blended finance. And then lastly, I'd say equity probably doesn't fall in the sense of that in blended finance, but I think if used strategically, it can really have the same effects. And I say that also obviously because DEG is one of the equity investors in ZEP-RE. And I think through that, we've been able to provide patient capital, really kind of see ZEP-RE grow over a long period of time, and kind of deploy strategic initiatives. And I'm kind of thinking around the study with McKinsey, where we're looking at how to sustainably and from an economic growth perspective, invest funds. Exactly, I've already mentioned the smallholder farmer program. So yeah, I think bottom line really is blended finance can be hugely important, guarantees, TA, but then also I'd count equity towards it as if used strategically. Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, everybody. Because time is running short, as I've been told, do you hear me or do you not hear me? Do you hear me? I don't know what's wrong with my mic. Okay, yes. So because we're running short of time and we need to see the unveiling of the report, right? I'm going to ask a final question to each and every panelist to answer. Because many of the other questions we wanted to ask, they've already sort of woven them into their previous responses. So from each and every one of you, what do you think are the bold steps we can take as an ecosystem. I love the word I learned from Sheila, or I hear it from Sheila all the time. It's a finance and insurance ecosystem that we live in. What are the bold steps we can take to create new financial vehicles that can both deliver financial returns, but also sustainability returns and impact? What bold steps can we take, thinking outside the box? And it's very important, I think, what Hannah said, but also one thing that Jonathan said. It's risk perception versus risk reality. Insurance is in the business of mitigating risk. This is our reality. We all know, if we look at the statistics, that investments in Africa, even though perceived to be much more risky than anywhere else in the world, actually perform equal or better than investments in South America or North America even. So I just leave that comment with you. Then I'm going to go to all the panelists to answer the other ones. Stella, may I start with you? Your bold vision
is that because the quantum of risk is bigger than one underwriter can carry, we need to look at collaboration between underwriters in terms of co-creating products and underwriting them together, of course with the support of reinsurers, because in as much as we want to build resilience in terms of climate change, the reality is that as individuals, we won't be able to take care of everybody. And as long as we have certain people who are excluded, we wouldn't have met that need.
Thank you. Very good. Jonathan, from your point of view, what's your bold vision?
I think Hope talked about insurance penetration, but obviously I'm coming at it from the investment side. And my vision would be to see far, far, far greater financial inclusion and access to financial products from the man or the woman on the street. And I think we're in a unique time just now because technology is allowing us to reach those people in a way that frankly wasn't possible even 5 years ago. So my vision is to see financial services across the board being more available, being easy to understand and easy to access for everyone, because I think that will help everyone prosper.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hannah, you're smiling. How about your bold vision?
I think I'll probably throw back to the private sector and put ourselves in the supporting role, because I think that's where innovation really happens. And I think for us, the role is really to listen and support private sector in their vision. Yeah.
Thank you. Yemi, what about you?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think my vision will be on the backdrop of, my immense love for the continent and my dream for the continent to reach its full potential. And what that then means is there are three things that I think should guide this conversation as we think about transformation. First is we need to be proportional in how we go about thinking of, transformation. In other words, as we think about building better, we also should be conscious of destroying value within the continent, because this is a continent that still needs to grow, that requires jobs, that requires, for us to fix the huge unemployment, young population we need to provide jobs for. We need to ensure that we actually go fully and exploit whatever economic benefits we can generate on the continent. So I think we have to be proportional. Secondly, we always have to take a business case lens in how we think about the conversation around growth. We need to be able to do two things at the same time. Think sustainably while also delivering economic return across the various markets on the continent. And then finally, is partnerships. I think what is clear is when you look at the challenges we face, no one enterprise, no one entity, no one individual can solve all of them. Partnerships are going to be key for us to deliver going into the future. So having those three guiding principles, I think, will help us to be very deliberate in terms of how we go about setting and building better for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Yemi. Hope?
It's tough speaking last.
No.
But I think, yeah, no worries. So I think what ZEP-RE is also positioned itself as, what we really hold dear today is protection for all, right? How do we make sure that Africa's people, communities, vulnerable, are protected? That is what we think about every day. And to get there, we will need private-public partnerships, right? And that is something we are driving. Today, if you think about the kind of losses we get that are called economic but uninsured losses, right? How do we bridge that gap? Because that's where our value is getting lost. Climate change is real. We get floods every year. We get cyclones every year. Value is destroyed every year. So today we've started a conversation between development partners, the MDBs, the people that provide capital and loans and grants. And we are bringing in also the governments and the private sector to say, how do we together protect critical public assets? How do we protect livelihoods? It cannot be done just as an industry. So really inclusion for all, protection for all that brings everybody around the table, because like my colleagues have said here, the problem is too big to be dealt with one. One of the things that Stella did talk about, just to expand it a little bit, how do we make sure the problem is too big, the gap is too big, yet we compete on a very small cake, right? And by the way, that's our strategy is called growing the pie, because the pie has to be grown for us to have space. But what we've also brought to the regulators in our regulator forums is to say, so most of the insurance premiums are going out of the country, of the continent. How do we make sure that your regulatory frameworks, whatever you're trying to do, supports retaining premiums on the continent? Why wouldn't companies in Kenya write business in Uganda, and then write business in Rwanda, and then move on, so that at the end of the day, we really create that spread of risk? So we've started the conversation. Please push for that as well. And then we'll start talking about Africa for Africa. But right now, we talk about one thing, and we do policies that are really shooting ourselves in the feet. But it's a good journey we've started. Thank you, Albena.
Thank you, Hope. So let's give a clap to the panelists. Before I hand over back to Miriam, I want to leave you all with things to think about. And think what all the panel said. We start with leave no one behind. We went over to financial inclusion. DFIs as the glue between the private and the public sectors, support. Then we go over here to partnerships, proportionality, and make, use, and deliver for this continent. And last but not least, Hope summed it all up, right? Close the protection gap, work with others. You can't do the journey alone, the challenge is too big. But mostly, grow the pie, guys. We need to grow the pie with innovation, with technology, with partnerships, and with support from the private sector and investments. Thank you all very much, and now I hand back to Miriam.
Thank you so much, Albena, for the wonderful moderation. Please, panelists, just remain on your seats. I would allow for 2 questions from the room. We have mics by our wonderful Rachel, who will move around. Please just raise your hand and we'll be able to take your questions. And then Albena will decide who from the panelists is best suited to answer that question. And as you raise your hands, I take this opportunity to recognize the presence of 4 of our board directors online. Please raise your hand and Rachel will come to you. 4 of our board directors are joining us on YouTube Live. Director Simon Chikumbu, the Vice Chair of the Board, Director Namuli Ruth, Director Joy Ntare, and Director Jeanette Riagamba. And all the wonderful people joining us online. 2 questions going once. I'll now probably, for resilience and for us to keep time, we'll now probably time it.
There's one.
There is a question on this table.
Thanks for the wonderful presentation. My name is Angeline, the head of sustainability at Family Bank. And I'll go with the last comment that was made work with others. The financial sector is wide. And when I listen to the insurance industry speaking, I'm forced to wonder, how will we come to the table, all of us? Because the bank is funding different sectors, which may be sustainable or not. The insurance is underwriting. So how do we sit at the table and the fund managers, the DFIs, the insurance, the commercial banks to know, well, how will we redirect the capital flows towards what is sustainable? Because I feel like we are a bit siloed. So is it possible to have that one conversation as all the financial players? Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll pick Stella to answer that question. You still have the mic, yes.
The way to create a round table is to ensure that the organizations that are the industry heads of all the stakeholders come together, because it will be difficult to speak to the individuals. And from there, we'll be able to come up with a framework, how it is that we're going to decide this. Actually, I feel like the question is a little bit bigger than me because of the different levers that are required to make these decisions. But industry bodies, regulators, making sure that we have someone who would be like the leader of the task force so that we can direct the efforts. I know I've not adequately answered, so I'd like to pass it over to Hope.
I want to delegate to Yuan. Yuan, I see you're sleeping. Talk about how you make credit accessible to smallholder farmers. I think that's an important connection.
Yeah, no, thank you. So by introduction, my name's Ewan. I'm the CEO at Acre Africa. I think one thing we realized quite early on at Acre, and Acre we're doing agricultural insurance, is that farmers don't necessarily want insurance, right? And I think Hope summed it up. What I tend to say a lot is farmers want credit, but they need insurance. And we realized that what farmers really want is credit, right? And we noticed that credit has a quite transformational impact on farmer yield. And a lot of studies have showed that farmer yield doubles when they have access to credit for quality inputs, fertilizer, pesticide, et cetera, et cetera. So our focus over the last couple of years has really been to answer the question, how do we get banks to lend more to farmers? And not just banks, MFIs, VSLAs, lenders to lend more to farmers. So we've been stepping in with a number of tools, facilities, projects to encourage banks to make those loans. A lot of it is around analytics and giving the lenders the tools to de-risk lending to farmers, and also the insurance products to provide that kind of formal risk mitigation product. And that's really something we're focused on at Acre is you know, it's not really about the insurance. We are something that catalyzes the lending. It's the lending that farmers need. It's the lending that farmers want. But you can't lend without insurance. You can't lend without the analytics and the data that we can provide the lenders. And it's really, you know, everyone has a piece of the puzzle really, and it's kind of bringing that together into a coherent and holistic solution.
Thank you, Ewan.
Thanks, Ewan. So I wanted just to explain it by example, that actually that has to happen. In our DRIVE project, I don't see the DRIVE team, but what we've also done, ZEP-RE, which is an implementing agent, we're actually doing DRIVE not as a reinsurer, but as an implementing agent, have had to have bank accounts opened for pastorists. You saw that at the screen earlier. Close to 500,000 digital bank accounts had to be opened for the pastorists, and you can imagine how difficult that is, for them to access credit, for them to access services. And we bundled a savings product with insurance. So these are things that are happening. And by the way, we are doing this in the Horn of Africa. So we are doing it within 4 countries. So it's not, so we are also bringing the scaling bit together. So you're very right. Financial services package need to be seen together. Financial literacy needs to be together. And extending other things like access to market. So we are also involved in trying to create cooperatives so that pastorists can sell their produce and then they can be able to afford to pay premiums. So we cannot look in the narrow lens of pay a premium and get a cover. We need as insurers, as bankers to go beyond and say, how actually will they pay for those premiums? With DG, we are running a project called Grain for Premium in Zambia. It's a pilot. We are saying farmers have grain. They don't have money. What if they paid for premiums with a bag of maize, right? And told them, by the way, with this bag of maize, if your 50 bags you don't have a harvest, you will be covered. You'll get back the investment. So it's innovation, it's thinking big, it's thinking wide, it's bringing ecosystem. So that is very, very close to what we do. So we welcome Family Bank to do that with us.
Is there another question? We have one more, right?
We'll respond to at least one question online because we want to be as inclusive as possible. So I'll just read out the question. And then you can select again who would be best suited to respond. A question from Florence that says, kindly further simplify the protection gap. And another question from Hayat Sebiala on kindly address the trust gap, one on ESG, and secondly, on insurance.
The trust gap and the protection gap.
The trust gap, one on ESG and insurance, and number two, growing the pie and closing the protection gap.
Okay, so on the trust gap on ESG and insurance, Yemi, might I ask you to say a few words? And then I'll look at somebody else to address the protection gap. Yes.
All right. So I think on the aspect of trust within the ESG space, I think trust is a fundamental ingredient for any ecosystem to function properly. And that applies also within the ESG ecosystem. And when we think about trust, we need to think about it in the context of what are the expectations of those who are relying on some of the information and decision that are made as a function of, embracing ESG and sustainability. So in the context of trust, one aspect to it is not just the reporting, which is just an outcome, but also all the upstream activities that take place internally across many organizations, and also some of the partnerships that we're already discussing. So one of the ways to restoring that trust is ensuring, accountability, transparency, ensuring that every time you put out information, that information is verifiable, is credible, and people can actually use that information to actually gain insights and help them with their decision making. Another aspect to that is also just thinking about how do we build credibility across the broader ecosystem. And one way to do that is to ensure that the data on which we put out, the data on which we rely for information, and the data we rely for decision making is data that has been assured. So you also want to make sure as you go about speaking about impact, you go about providing data to aid the boards for decision making, that data is data that can be relied on. And one way to do that is to build assurance programs, many of which we already do, and I'm sure in some of the projects you spoke about, ACAR, Drive, you have some form of monitoring and evaluation, some form of verification. That is important because that could actually bring a lot of issues to that system if we don't actually verify and provide assurance in that program. So I think assurance helps with that. Also embracing very good reporting standards and frameworks positions you as being open, transparent, and ultimately helps you to build trust as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yemi. Before we go to the protection gap, Hope, Hannah, can you quickly, in 3 sentences, say what are the most critical things DG would look at, from your point of view, to an investee when it comes to ESG and the trust gap and all these things?
Yeah, good question. I think from an ESG perspective, definitely in areas where we can look at regulation, like are they meeting regulatory requirements, but also in areas where regulatory requirements aren't quite implemented yet, are they striving towards it? And I think generally, how is ESG used? So there's obviously also like a cost and revenue benefit, and I think having a look at that as well, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So not just reporting it and having it, but using it. You both said that, implementing it. Thank you. Hope, I'll leave the final words to you to answer on the protection gap and growing the pie.
So I want to throw this to the floor. I don't want to answer that. Because we have our partners here who are doing a great job. So I want to, without notice, ask Britam, Tom, to say something about what you're doing within this area, whether it's growing the pie, whether it's about sustainability. I'll ask APA also to talk about that a little bit. So that would be, I think, a good way to be inclusive.
So the protection gap, it's a $1 million question which we all can contribute to. At Britam, one of the things we've realized is that the underserved, as Stella said, are underserved not because they wouldn't benefit from insurance, but because they either don't know about it or we haven't embedded it as part and parcel of their daily lives. And we have seen technology as a significant contributor. It enables us to conveniently be in their daily lives as they go about their life. And we have seen that grow penetration. We have also seen technology enable us to come up with relevant products, especially in the climate-related products. Some of you might know that Britam insured, together with others, the flood victims in Lower Tana, the pastoralists, the farmers, and the ordinary citizens. And to do that, there is no way we could efficiently distribute this product, all the knowledge about it, if we did not use technology. And also pay the claims conveniently, even before they complete any claims form. Because you don't need to be told that there has been flooding when clearly there has been. So on the knowledge about insurance, we have also noticed, especially for the Gen Zs, the younger generation, that gaming, in my life, I never associated gaming with insurance, but gaming has brought some interest into the insurance space, and they're also coming up with clever ideas. There is a tendency for people in this room to think that we are the repository of knowledge, but you'll be shocked at the ideas that come from the underserved if you invite them to comment. So technology, involving them, and making insurance fun by gaming. I wouldn't be surprised if there are people in this room who have no idea what I'm talking about when I say gaming. But let's hear what our friends APA also have to say.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Eric Wanting from APA Life. So I think this is a very complex question, and I think that there's probably two aspects to it. I think in terms of the protection gap, there's an immediate solution to the protection gap, but then I think the more real issue is around the sustainability, and I think to your point around the underserved market, I think that's where the real challenge lies. So if I look at immediately the protection gap, especially for the underserved market, youth in particular, I think two aspects to it. Number one, that our products need to be relevant. So I think the underlying principle there needs that it needs to be based on true share value. Okay, so there's a relevance. Does the product that we're offering do what it's intended to do? And then secondly is around access. So how do you make the product as accessible and as affordable as possible? I think the real challenge lies in the sustainability aspect, which is the longer term problem. And if I look at Africa, Africa's greatest wealth is not in the minerals or the oil that we have, it's in the youth. So if you take the latest UN report, I think it's quoted as saying that 70% of Africa's population is under 35 years old. And if you take youth unemployment, and the figures vary between 20% to 30%, but certainly in countries in sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa, it's quoted at almost 70%, Angola is almost over 50%. You have such a pool of resources in the youth that unfortunately have no access because of unemployment and certainly the ability to fund the protection needs. So I think the greater question is, how do we develop the youth? And that is a greater public-private question that we need to embrace. And unfortunately, I don't have the solution for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think with that, that brings to a close our panel session. I believe our panel has done a wonderful job this morning. Please give them a huge, huge round of applause. And I'll kindly ask the panel to just stand. Everything up there is going to be cleared, but please remain there because we're about to enter a huge, huge, huge moment, which marks a key part of why we're here today. So the hotel staff will kindly help us with getting everything cleared there. And at this point, I think I forgot at the beginning to say that resilience, as we've said, requires a lot of partnerships. And as the resilience host today, stroke MC, I have a co-MC, Miss Jeannie Ese, who is the Principal Officer Communications at ECA, who is going to kindly help us with the launch moment. And she will engage all of you because this moment will be very important for all of us to remember and celebrate with ZEP-RE at this point. So over to you, Jean.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you all. I believe it's been such a great morning, being part of such a great journey and witnessing the launch of the 2024 ZEP-RE Sustainability Report. I want to ensure you that this is not just another report. It is a milestone to unlocking the resilience for Africa, a milestone to keep partnering in co-creating, in driving sustainability, resilience, and growth. We've heard the panelists and our MD, Ms. Hope, saying that we need to grow the resilience pie, and it takes you, it takes us, it takes all the players in this space to do that. So our panelists, I'll just request that you stand on the sides because in less than 2 minutes, we will be unveiling this report. We have a clip to play. It's a 1 minute or so clip, and I'll ask the rest of us to be upstanding to witness this, to celebrate with ZEP-RE. This has been long coming. And I'm sure you are as eager as I to see what this 2024 ZEP-RE Sustainability Report has for us. So I'll ask the IT team to play the clip. We want to thank each and every one of the investors, the partners, the directors, the different players in the reinsurance space and insurance space to bring this report to us. Celebrate with us the 2024 ZEP-RE Sustainability Report. We are looking forward to circulating the copies to each and every one of you and continue the conversation of resilience in Africa. Thank you.
Please remain up there. Panelists, please be patient with me. I'll tell you when to exit the stage. Thank you so much, Jean, for helping us launch the report in a paperless, seamless, digital, inclusive way. So we'll have some photos for the panel up there with our report. And I think, Richard, I can't seem to see you because I am 5'1", and on a good day I'm 5'4", but I have resilient shoes today. So please, if you're somewhere, could you please have the photo of the panel up here? And then I told you there were gifts. For now, I will gift the panelists. We have Albena and Hope to gift our wonderful panelists who have contributed so generously and so thoughtfully to the conversation today. So we'll have the photo, and then we'll give them some wonderful, lovely, resilient gifts for them to remember this moment going forward. Please take your seats so that we can do that very quickly and move on to the next bit. Yes, and here are some gifts for our panelists. I think, Hope, you need to move a little bit there so that the photos can also capture you giving the gifts, please. So please, all our panelists, thank you so much. And we deeply, deeply appreciate the insights that you've been able to bring to this conversation. Thank you so much. The room, you can clap once more for the panelists as they exit the stage. Once more, I'm told that the EXCO at ZEP-RE needs to be upstanding up here. So Hope once more for one photo, and then we'll resume with the program. So all EXCO at ZEP-RE, please. Okay, so I'm told afterwards. Sorry about that mix-up. Systems team, please put the QR code up so that people can scan and post the link online so that people can also have visibility to the report. And as that happens, I would like to kindly welcome, as you know, we're in Africa, and Africa is our business. And we must thank you, our partners, our clients, our friends. So for that, we have a vote of thanks from our head of academy, Miss Christine Gitachu. So please come over, Christine.
Good morning. Do I need to go up? I think I'm taller than Miriam, and I think I'm visible in the room. All right. Thank you all very much for joining us this morning. I think today has been such a memorable day for us as ZEP-RE, and we are truly honored that each one of you made the time to be here with us as we were launching our very first sustainability report. And we truly are grateful that you made the time to be here with us and have been walking the journey with us as well. A very special word of appreciation to our board of directors, some of whom are joining us virtually from the different countries where they sit. We also truly do appreciate the management of ZEP-RE, led ably by Hope and other members of EXCO, and the team that has worked tirelessly to ensure that the report has been done and done really well. The Gen Zs, as Miriam has spoken about, who have been extremely creative, maybe I can even say resilient, in how they have come up with the the report, so we truly do thank you. Each and every colleague who contributed in one way or another, spent late nights reviewing, we truly are grateful for all your input. We also want to ensure that you are aware that this report is not just another report. It's not a tick box for ZEP-RE, all right? So it's a motion, we're setting in motion a framework that will guide ZEP-RE in its measures and how we report and strengthen our impact going forward. We also truly want to appreciate the different partners who worked with us in ensuring that this report has been a success, notably our partners at DG and AFD, and your collaboration on this has been extremely instrumental in bringing this report to life for us. Truly, we'd also like to thank the panelists. Thank you for sharing your insights, your industry wisdom and expertise with us, and knowing that this is not just a conversation that ends here, it's in motion in our day-to-day. So also just to note that this report is more than a publication. It's truly a declaration of ZEP-RE's accountability, our transparency that is fully aligned with our identity as a commerce institution, where we are deliberate in fostering sustainable trade, deepening regional integration, and building resilience across Africa and the communities that we serve. So as we look ahead, we're inviting you, as Miriam has said, to interact with the report, to challenge us and to hold us accountable, that we're not just celebrating with cheers, right? So as our partners, we invite you to keep us accountable and continue the dialogue and partnership as we scale the impact. And as I conclude, just to say that together we are shaping resilience and a sustainable Africa. So thank you all very much for being with us, and we look forward to continuing to partnering with you and working together with you. Asanteni.
Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you so much. I think I'll stand up here because I am not as tall. Thank you so much, Christine, for that wonderful vote of thanks to everyone in the room. I believe our systems team is going to ensure that the report cover is back up here. And Richard, our senior communications officer at ZEP-RE, will coordinate a couple of photos to be taken here to mark this important milestone. And at this juncture, this marks the official program. Thank you so much, everyone in the room, and thank you so much, everyone who joined online and actively participated by commenting, asking questions, cheering us on. And this is just but the beginning of many, many milestones that we are going to take together as we partner for resilience, to grow resilience across the continent we love, the continent we call home. And with that, thank you so much. You can start partnering for resilience, business partnerships, by interacting with each other and taking photos with the cover that will be on the screen. Richard, please, I believe there is some photos that you want to take. And with that, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I believe AI will not replace me because maybe after ESG, I'll do MCing. Thank you, everyone. And guests can leave at their own leisure. So the official program is done. We'll have photos and then people can mingle. Nothing else is going to go on the stage. Thank you. Exco, please.